Are we on? Hello, 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 and welcome. Fantastic to have you here. This is the webinar for authors, and I am super, super excited to be sharing some really Okay, are we back? Oh, this has always happened before. But before I was so rudely interrupted, this is all about finding out the things that hold you back from writing a book, the things that hold you back from becoming an author. Yes, it looks like it's working. Now, please let me know what the sound is like. And if there's anyone there, is there anyone there? Let me know if you can hear me and see me. I do have my little tester on here, and it looks like I am visible. So welcome to the who, what, why of becoming a successful author. And I am going to be sharing with you today some of my most juicy tips about making it in the world of being a self-published author. So my name's Kylie. I'll tell you a little bit more about myself, but not much, just enough to kind of let you understand who the heck I am and why you should be listening to me. And yes, this was a really, I felt like I was pulling this webinar together at the last minute. I had all the material, but I hadn't sort of completely got it together. So it's been a very interesting last 24 hours, and it's actually Easter Friday here, which is lovely because it's so quiet. I live right in town, and usually there's just constant noise of traffic, and now there's barely a car on the road. It's 10 a.m. and everyone's probably sleeping in, I guess. So it's a beautiful Sydney autumn morning with bright blue sky and sun shining. So perfect thing to be doing is doing a webinar. Why not? And yes, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, but let me share my screen because I think that's going to be the best way to do this. So let me see if I have this ready. Yes, I do. Okay. So what is it all about? So tell me. You're here watching this webinar. I am going to imagine that you have some dream of becoming an author, some dream of actually writing a book. Maybe you already have written a book. Maybe you're in the middle of writing a book. In fact, you will notice that there is a little chat box at the bottom of this webinar. And yes, it looks like it's working. So let me know where you are on your author journey. Is it something that is still a dream? Is it something that has become a reality? Or is it something that you're still sort of toying with, and something that you would love to do, but as yet it hasn't quite happened? Let me know where you are in all of that. Yes, okay, I've got the chat box working now. That's good. So it could be a dream of writing a book and then publishing a book, because obviously these are two very different things. And I'm going to talk about both of those today, because writing a book is all well and good, but clearly the reason you write a book is for other people to read it, and to do that you need to publish it. So I am going to be talking about that as well. And why do people want to write a book? Well, I think one of the biggest reasons is to share their knowledge. So obviously I'm talking about nonfiction books here. That was the big push behind me writing my book, both of the books that I've written and the third one that I'm in the middle of doing. The reason was that I felt like I had all this information inside. So my first book, which is the Massage Therapist Success Manual, this was based on the fact that I'd been a massage therapist for a long time, and I just wanted people who were also in this field to know some of the things that I had learnt over the 15 or more years of doing it. So it was just an impulse, I guess. For a lot of people, it's about making an impact. It's about something very strong and deep inside them that they really want the world to know about. So, you know, these kind of books are obviously, you know, hugely important to the author and to the rest of the world. When the right person reads those books, you know, it really can make a difference in their life. And of course, leaving a legacy can be another reason that you might want to write a book. I don't know. Is there any other reasons that people have for writing a book? Building your business is one that is very popular for a lot of people who are solopreneurs or have their own businesses, because it's a way of sharing your authority. It is a way of actually I guess establishing yourself as an authority in your profession, in your field. Once you've become an author, it does put you in a different realm than other people, and it certainly gives you a foot in the door and a seat at the table and a backstage pass to all the best events. So for a lot of people, writing a book is a big reason. But now is the but, of course. You've probably heard this statistic, which is that 80% of people want to write a book, but only 1% of people, of those 80%, only 1% do. So there's a lot of people out there. It makes me think, if you go out today and you meet 10 people, 8 of those people in their heart of hearts really, really want to write a book. So, you know, the postman, the woman behind the counter in the health food store, the greengrocer, you know, your friends. I think that if this statistic is right, and let's just assume for the purpose of this argument that it is, there's so many people out there who have the desire to write a book, but there's very few people who actually do. And what we're going to be exploring today is why that is. What is the thing that holds people back? If they want to write a book, why aren't they doing it? Because let me tell you, it's a lot easier than you might think. There's writing a book, and there's writing a good book, and there's writing a book that sells. So all of those things we are going to be looking at today, so don't worry, but this is even just the fact that whether they write a good book or not is not what we're talking about here. It's just whether they write a book. So what is it that gets in the way? And I have worked with lots of authors, and I know from personal experience that this is a big one. It can become overwhelming just thinking about the thought of the time. I mean, most of us already live lives that are just packed to the gills. Now you add writing a book into that, add that to your shopping list, and suddenly you are going to barely have time to scratch yourself, let alone do the shopping. So the time and the feeling of overwhelm that comes when you think about, you know, putting the time in to write a book is huge. This is the next one, and that is the mind games. What if I can't do it? What if people don't like it? What if people don't like me? And so all of these thoughts can be racing around in your head. And of course, how will I sell it? Like, you just put a book up on Amazon. Does it sell? Well, I can tell you from personal experience too, no, it doesn't. There's a bit more to it than that. But anyway, these are often the things that stop people from taking that next step and actually becoming an author. Now, I did say I was going to tell you a few things about myself, and I wanted to tell you a secret. I hadn't even decided what secret to tell you, so I really was putting myself on the spot here, and I've decided the secret to tell you is that I poked myself in the eye with my mascara stick this morning. So I don't wear makeup very often. In fact, pretty much the only time I do is when I'm doing a call or a webinar like this. So I was putting on my mascara, and I thought, oh yeah, you should put it on the bottom lashes too, shouldn't you? And that was when the stick just went straight in my eye. So that messed up all the hard work I'd done on the rest of my eye, because the tears started coming out, and then there was black gunk everywhere. And I tell you what, sometimes I think it must be a lot easier to be a man, even if it's just because you don't have to wear mascara. I do have some other secrets, but I'm not telling you those yet. I'll tell you a little bit more about me. Well, yes, as I said, I have been a massage therapist, and I guess I would call myself a natural therapist. That's what we call them in Australia. I discovered in the US, they don't know what a natural therapist is, or it's not a term that's commonly used. So we call them natural therapists, and that's kind of the umbrella that covers everything from Reiki to massage to acupuncture to herbal medicine to iridology, and I have done quite a few of those. I do herbal medicine, iridology. I'm kind of a naturopath, but I don't do supplements. But I do just wellness. Food as medicine is a big thing, and that's what little insider secret here. Here you go. I am telling you another secret. That's what my next book's going to be about. Well, kind of. So anyway, main thing I've done though is body work. That is hands-on bodies on tables and massaging the crap out of them for 20 years. It says over 18 years, and I actually realize it's nearly 20 years. Like in about 6 months, it'll be 20 years. So hence my desire to write a book about something I figured I probably had a little bit of information about. I have also, and this is only for the last 5 years, something I've been doing, a transformational trainer. So looking at the art and science of sales. And in that time, I have trained over 500 new business owners, often mums and people who had never had businesses before, who wanted to sort of take a crack at starting their own network marketing business. And I worked as a branch manager where I did all of the training. I designed a lot of the training modules, and I loved it. I loved training people about the psychology behind sales, and I loved the actual creation of the training system. So of course, this is what I'm doing now, which is marrying those two things. Telling people about how to write books using the training systems and the coaching and the background that I've already had. And yes, I do work as a coach for authors as well, working one-on-one with people. And yeah, these are some of my training sessions over the years. So I have written and published 2 bestsellers in the last year, and I went from no idea, I swear to you, no idea in my head. Maybe the massage book had been like a germ, a twinkle in its father's eye of an idea, but it really wasn't anything concrete. So I went from there to bestseller in under 100 days. Now, if that blows your mind, stay tuned, because I am going to be telling you more about how you do that. And let me also tell you that 2 years ago, the thought of writing a book made me feel just as overwhelmed as I'm sure you probably feel too. So there they are. There are my babies. I changed the name of that book, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later, the Bodyworkers Success Blueprint and 10 Years Younger. Here is my other baby. This is my son, who is currently living with me. And this was just after he got back from a training session where he did a before and after photo. But anyway, he's my other baby, and the other thing that takes up a great part of my life, because you know what it's like being a mum, even when you've got a grown-up son. So who is this for? So that was me. That's all you're going to hear about me. No more secrets, none. That's it. Right now, the vault is closed. But what about you? Are you someone who's a brand new author? I would say a newbie. Are you someone who's just like a wannabe? Are you someone who this is the first time as a published author, or not even there or dreaming about it? So are you fitting into any of those categories? Tell me if you are. Let me know in the chat box who we have here, because sometimes I think I'm just talking to myself here. And maybe I am. It's definitely possible. It's happened before. So let me tell you a little bit about the WWW of becoming an author, the who, what, why of becoming an author, the who, why, what. So the who is super important. And if anyone here did the author boot camp in the last few days, you know what I'm talking about. The who is key to everything. And we are going to talk about what exactly the who is, but it's probably not what you think. It's probably not what you've been taught. But if you get the who right, your pitch will be perfect. The why. Now, This is another one that I think a lot of people pay lip service to, or maybe they dig in a bit deeper, especially if they've seen that Simon Sinek TED Talk. And by the way, just as an aside, if you haven't seen that Simon Sinek TED Talk about the why, you should. But we are taking that whole concept and we are throwing it out the window. The baby and the why are all getting tossed out. So you need to know your why though, but you need to know it so you never use it. And I will explain what I mean by that in a little bit. The what is so that you don't end up down a rabbit hole decision. And let me just tell you right now that, okay, I wasn't going to tell you any of my secrets, but now I am. I can't spell, and typos are my forte, so they are everywhere, hence why I pay an editor to look at my books before I ever let the world see them. But I didn't pay an editor to look at these slides, so yes, that is meant to say down a rabbit hole of indecision. You could have worked that out. And there's also going to be some other goodies, but look, let me tell you, as I've been working on my latest offer, which you're going to hear about in a bit, the Who, What, Why was a game changer for me. It really made a difference to how I created the course that I have, but also the books and how I'm helping other people to create their books. I can't wait to show you all about that, because it really is going to make a difference to how you present your books. So anyone here published? I'd like to know, are you a fiction or non-fiction writer? Are you a self-publisher, an indie publisher, or traditional? Ooh, I kind of doubt it, but maybe you are. Maybe you've gone the traditional route, but I've got very strong opinions about those. I'm not going to go into that now because that's yet another rabbit hole that I could get lost down. But I've got plenty of information on my web page about where I think those things stand. But the stuff I'm going to be sharing, plus the in-depth version that you will get in the author code, which is my new offering, is a game changer. It's going to show you how you can step into your power as an author and really have confidence in the way that you produce a book that is marketable and that sells. It's kind of what my impetus is for doing this webinar and creating this this course. So let's start with the who. This is gorgeous because I think so many people get it wrong, and so many of the big wigs out there are telling us in a way that's wrong, how I see it is wrong. This is just my opinion, just by the way. Like, I'm not, you've seen who I am. I'm not like some huge expert. I'm not a millionaire, but I've got very strong opinions, and I'm here to share them with you. So you can take them or leave them. But this is one that I do have very strong opinions on as well. The who. Okay, it is not an avatar. So let me explain about that, because I think that avatars are an absolute crime that has been visited upon the marketing world, the advertising world, the author world, and the movie world too. No, actually, I quite like the movie. Anyway, the avatar is like, she's a woman in her 30s, between the age of 31 and 43, and she has 2.5 kids, and she drives a 4-wheel drive, and her husband is in corporate, and she has a part-time job, and they earn X amount of dollars, and blah, 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 blah. Now, that is, when you're running Facebook ads, you kind of have to know that stuff too, because you do choose a lot of those answers. You don't necessarily choose what kind of car she likes, but you can choose if she's liked the 4-wheel drive Range Rover page. You can decide that. But the point is, when you're writing a book, no, don't do it. Please don't do it, because what happens is that you start sounding like you're talking gobbledygook. You start sounding like you're standing on your soapbox or your pedestal and preaching to a mass of 31 to 43-year-old women who drive Range Rovers and have 2.5 kids. Now, that is really unappealing, and it is really off-putting, and it makes your writing what's the word? It makes your writing like stagnant and just not flow. Yeah, stagnant. That is the word. It makes it very stagnant because you are not talking to a person. You're talking to some kind of nameless, faceless mass. And even if you give that person a name and a face, she's not real. She's an avatar. And I haven't got the exact dictionary definition of avatar, but I think it's like, it's not real, right? Like, it's a facade. It's not a real person. So no. And I'm going to give you a great example of this in a minute, because the other mistake people do is, apart from writing their book to an avatar, is they write their book for everyone. And that's in a way not that different to an avatar, but it's kind of almost worse. And that's where you're so close to the material and the wisdom, the gems that you've got in your heart. You know, they're so important to you that you truly, honestly believe that everyone needs to hear this. And you know, that may be right. That may be 100% true. But it's not who you should write your book to or for, because there is no everyone. If you write your book to everyone, then you will actually end up connecting with, as I've written there with another typo, I did pull this together at the last minute, with new one. You will connect with new one. And that's really sad. And why? Why does that happen? Why, if you think everyone should hear this, does no one make a connection with it? It's because you're writing for everyone. So I'm going to give you an example of this, which is that when I wrote my first book, which was The Bodyworker's Success Blueprint, now renamed under the name The Massage Therapist Success Manual. And that's a whole nother story. But anyway, when I wrote that book, I was very clear about who I was writing it for. And I had my mother, who is she's a big reader, voracious reader, and I had her read over the manuscript before it was sent to the editor, so that, you know, she could, I guess, cast her critical eye over it. And she had a lot of feedback about the kind of language I used, and there might have been a few swear words in there, but it wasn't that kind of language. She just felt it was a little bit casual and a little bit kind of it just didn't connect with her. And it wasn't until we discussed this that I said, well, that's because I wasn't aiming this at you. You're not a massage therapist. You're not someone who's just starting out in your business as a fresh, young-faced massage therapist. I was writing that book to myself 10, 15, actually maybe 20 years ago. So I was writing this to young Kylie. And so that is the information that I wanted, and it's the way I wanted to be spoken to. So that's what I mean by not writing it for everyone. Now, obviously, okay, so let me give you the example of JK, because that's actually even a better example. Who likes Harry Potter? Who is, you know, Harry Potter's ideal reader, as we would say? Because it is adored by people from from young children who can't even read and are being read to by their parents. So, you know, maybe 7, 8-year-olds, right through to grandmothers in their 70s, and everyone in between adores these books. You know, they've clearly become a worldwide hit. But when JK wrote them, now I am making massive assumptions here, but when she wrote them, she didn't write them thinking everyone will love these books, because if she had of, the language and the way she had have written and the topics and then the style would have been watered down and blanded out, because she's kind of trying to please everyone. Instead, she wrote it to someone very, very specific, and that was this little boy who was 7 years old, and then 8 years old in the next book, and then 9 years old in the next book, who was, abandoned by his parents, and was felt he didn't have a friend in the world, and was misunderstood and had a horrible family life. And, you know, she wrote it for Harry, and Harry was, you know, a very real character, but he was also the audience of her book, because any little boy who has felt like that, or any one of us who has ever felt like that. We all connected with it hugely. And so, clearly the rest is history. But she certainly didn't write it with everyone in mind. That was the result, not the intent. So I hope that makes sense. Let me know if it doesn't make sense. Just let me know, if that the way that I've explained that makes sense. I actually see it as a picture of a funnel. You funnel down to a reverse funnel, an upside down funnel. You start with a very specific Harry Potter or, myself 20 years ago as that, one individual that you're sitting down with and having a casual chat with, and it funnels out because it starts so specific. It actually connects with everyone. Whereas if you do it the other way, where you think you're going to connect with everyone, it funnels in the opposite way and you end up connecting with, very few people. So I talk about Irene because I call her the ideal reader. Talk to your ideal reader. And I just thought that just sounds so kind of markety gobbledygook. So let's just call her Irene because that's the first two letters, I-R. I know, really clever. So you need to identify who Irene is. And if it's, you need to be really specific who it is. It might be someone you actually know, or if not, then someone that you can very easily imagine actually sitting down with and having a cup of tea with her and talking, having a conversation. And how would you communicate when you're talking to this Irene? What kind of questions does she have? What is the way that you would share this information? Because that is how you want to write your book. If you write like that, then not only will Irene connect with it, but there are going to be a million other Irenes out there. And then plus there's going to be all these other people who, okay, they're not Irene. They're not, your ideal reader. But because your tone is so conversational and so from the heart and so real and so not standing on the soapbox type of thing, it connects with everyone. Now that is when you've really hit home. So it doesn't become a lecture or a speech. And if you had written a book 100 years ago, this would not have flown. It would have been a very different thing. But these days, this is what people want in their books. This is how books are consumed and read. And okay, look, I'm not talking about literary masterpieces. I am talking about nonfiction pieces in general. So next one. Any questions about that? Any questions? I'm not seeing anything in the chat box, and it makes me suspect that I might be completely on my own, and that serves me right for doing this last minute. But that's okay. I know there's people who want the recording, so yay, you'll get the recording. And you can listen to me in double time in the recording because I sound way better like that. That's just my tip. Maybe not double time, maybe time and a half. Okay, the why. This is really important too, because what your motivation is really important to know, because you need to know why you're writing this book. Are you doing it because you want to make an impact? Are you doing it because you have something to share? Are you doing it for, to make money? Are you doing it to dispel a lie? Are you doing it to expose something? Are you doing it just for the fun? Anyway, the point is you need to get really clear on your why. And I've got an exercise. If you sign up to the book, the Author Boot Camp, you will see that exercise spelled out in detail. Basically, what you do is you ask the question why over and over and over until you really get to the why behind the why behind the why, because the surface answer to that question is going to be quite different. So you will find, so for example, why are you writing this book? Because, I've got some really good knowledge to share. Okay. Why is that important to you? Because I think people need to hear this knowledge and it will make a difference in their lives. Okay, so why is that important to you? Because I think making a difference in people's lives is something that gives me fulfillment, and this knowledge will make them rethink how they look at their health. I'm thinking about my own book now. I'm interviewing myself. Okay, so why is that important to you, Kylie? Okay, because I think there's a lot of misinformation out there about health, and I want to expose it. And why is that important to you? So you see what I'm doing there? You just keep asking why, and it just goes deeper and deeper, and it can go on for a long time and can get really, really boring. So I'm not going to keep that conversation going, but I could do that for 15 minutes and write my answers down and see what came out of it. Now, the biggest thing, the reason that you do this is because you need to understand your motivations. And believe me, if your motivations are just about helping others, that is not really what motivates you. So for example, if you that's not enough of a motivation to make a difference. You have to really understand what is driving you. Now, why is this important as far as marketing your book? Because that's kind of what we're talking about here, is that what's important to you may not be what's important to them, to Irene, shall we say. And when you market your book, what's important to you has to take a back seat. What's important to you is great for your own motivation and to help you complete what is clearly going to be quite a big project. But when it comes to marketing, you need to get that right away. You need to put it to the side. I talk about it as the crabgrass and the weed killer. So let's say that I was someone who sold weed killer. Now, I never would be because I don't believe in toxins at all. But I'm using this because this is kind of like a classic copywriting example. Talk about their crabgrass, not your weed killer. So here I am. I'm a door-to-door salesman selling weed killer, and I come up and I knock on the door and I say, "Hi there, Irene." Now, I have this fantastic weed killer. It is non-phosphate and it is got these fantastic chemicals that no one's ever seen before, and it usually would cost this much, but it only costs that much, and now we're going to be selling it for half price. And you can get really caught up in talking about your weed killer because that's really important to you. Now, in this analogy, your weed killer is your reason why you're writing the book. Irene, you know what? She doesn't really care about your weed killer. It could be called Blast, or it could be called Death, or it could be called Zap. It could be in a green bottle. It could be in a blue bottle. I mean, the price of it might matter to her, but really all she cares about is her crabgrass, and crabgrass is some kind of a weed, I guess. That's all she cares about. She cares that her lawn is looking ugly and her neighbor's lawn is looking beautiful. So if you go in talking about your weed killer and not her crabgrass, you're going to lose her. She's not going to be interested unless you can really talk about her crabgrass. Now, when it comes to your title and your cover, the temptation is to put your weed killer on the cover. I hope you're following my analogy here. The thing is, they don't care about it yet. Now, they will care about it. They'll get to love your weed killer. By the time they finish reading the book, they're going to be all up in your weed killer. They're going to love it. But at this point, and you're going to understand, on Amazon, people have a split second to make a decision between your book and 33 million other books. So you have got to make an impact, bang, like that. It's an impulse buy. So if you're representing the weed killer and they're not really into weed killer at this point, then you've lost them. And that comes with the title and the cover. The wrong people will be tempted to buy. So people who are into weed killer, maybe that's not right. But anyway, they'll be disappointed. The right people won't give it a second look and they'll miss out. And your book will crash and burn. So you've got to understand what their crabgrass is, and that's what's got to be represented. So this is going to help you angle, because if you're clear about who Irene is, you're clear about your why, you know exactly what the angle you're going to take to appeal to Irene, and then you can create your successful marketing strategy. Is this all coming together, guys? I really hope it is. Let me just pause for a moment and have a sip of water. So I hope this is kind of all coming together, and how you can see that some really basic knowledge like this is going to make a massive difference in whether you sell books or not. So let's continue. The what is the marketing. That's what that's the banner I'm putting it under anyway. The marketing, which is what we've just been speaking about. It's got to be built into the whole book. People think about marketing as something they do after the book's written. No, 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 no. That's why I'm talking to you about Irene and her crabgrass. That is your marketing. That's the bedrock of your marketing. And this should just make you sigh a huge sigh of relief, because a lot of authors, the idea of marketing makes them think of being like a sleazy used car salesman out there kind of trying to flog his wares to people who don't want it, and, you know, knocking on doors and saying, buy my book, and posting in Facebook groups until, you know, you get banned because people are so sick of hearing about your flipping book. If that's what you think marketing is, then this is good news for you, because what I have just spent the last 34 minutes talking about is the marketing. It's Irene and her crabgrass. That's what it is, the crabgrass. So that's how you're going to decide your cover, your title, and your blurb. But the blurb is the next one I'm going to talk about, and it's also known as a description. It's more often known as a description in the non-fiction world, blurb in the fiction world. Now, okay, you've got to keep all of these uniform. So if it is the crabgrass is the topic, then make sure that it's keeping that, you know, this is the pain, right? The pain is the crabgrass. What's the benefit? The benefit is having a lawn that will put her neighbor to shame. That is the motivator behind Irene, who looks out at her, you know, crabby lawn and her neighbor's perfect lawn. She wants it to be the other way around. So if you can you've got to get inside the head of Irene. And if Irene is just some mass of everyone, you can never do that. Can you see how this all starts to hook together? I hope so. Fantastic. Okay. So now there is this thing called the curse of knowledge, and this is why it is really hard to unknow what you already know. So when you are marketing your book, and let's go back to the previous slide, when you're going through these things, the pain and the benefit, the reason it can be so difficult for authors to fully understand what the pain and the benefit is because they're so caught up in their weed killer. That is all they are thinking about. And so they've lost sight of the fact, they've lost sight of Irene. They've lost sight of her crabgrass. They've lost sight of the thing that keeps her awake at night, which is, you know, not being the best lawn in the neighborhood. I don't know, that's, you know, but you can follow this analogy, right? That's what you need to keep in mind. But we are so caught up in the nuts and bolts. We can't see the wood for the trees. It's very hard to be able to get down and see the whole picture when you're so caught up in the details. And of course, if you've just finished writing or you're in the midst of writing, 20, 30, 40,000 words, it is really hard to not know it. Now, the curse of knowledge is this, you can't unknow what you already know. So you enter into this field of, here's my book, with all the knowledge that you have about it. Irene has zero knowledge about it, and it's very hard to enter into her mindset and go back to being someone who knows nothing about it. And what would someone who knows nothing about this topic, what would they need to know? You have to be a bit of a chameleon to do that. Okay, so your cover needs to speak to the pain or the benefit. It needs to appeal to Irene, and that's what's going to get her to buy. This is where asking for feedback for people on your cover or your title can be an absolute rabbit hole of confusion and pain, and like you have 50% of the people saying they hate this one and they love that one, and then 50% of the people saying they hate that one and love this one. And it just ends up being completely confusing because they are giving you feedback on whether they like it. People don't buy a book based on whether they like it. The cover, they don't. The cover's got to do something very different. It's got to attract them. It's got to disrupt them. It's got to make, when they're glancing on that Amazon page of 20 tiny little postage stamp size pictures, it's got to stand out, and it's got to speak to their pain or their benefit. When it comes to the title and the subtitle, you also want to talk about the benefit and the subtitle for the pain. So a lot of people get caught up in being really clever with their titles and subtitles, and it just isn't going to make sense to Irene, right? She's not she's not up with all the latest lingo and jargon, and if it's sort of a bit obscure, but it sounds cute to you, because you have the curse of knowledge, you know all about this. To her, she'll just be like, huh? Now, by the time she's finished reading the book, she'll nod and go, oh, yes, yes, yes. And that's the problem with people who vote on your title and subtitle. They've had more than 1/10 of a second to look at it. They might have looked at it for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds. If they're friends, they might have discussed it with you for an hour. So they're saying, oh, yeah, that's a really cool title. Whereas Irene, who's just deciding whether she's going to click buy now or not, she's just like, what? No. No. Next. No. That's how long she's thinking about your title. So it's got to really, really talk to her, the benefit and the pain. So the blurb, oh my goodness, this is so important, and something that so many authors get wrong. Your blurb should be a sales letter. It's called the description, but it shouldn't be called the description, because that's what people then do. So when on Amazon you have 4,000 words that you can use, and I suggest using all of them. It doesn't mean that someone's going to read all of them, but if they want to, they will. And you really need to turn it into a sales letter. And by a sales letter, look, obviously when you're going to hear me talk much more about marketing in the author code, is where I go into a lot of depth about exactly how you turn a blurb into a sales letter. But it's about their pain and the benefit. That's what your blurb needs. Like, in a nutshell, that is what your blurb needs to be about. So don't be lazy. Some people just copy and paste the first few paragraphs of their book. Oh my goodness, missed opportunity. And make it attractive. So in Amazon, you use HTML coding to make things bold and make them like a bigger sized font. Use it, because people will not read a block of 12-point unbroken up font text. They won't read it. Like, make it really attractive. Use bullet points and bolding and make it as attractive as you can. I mean, don't go over the top, but also you do need to use that. So it's really simple. It's not like some kind of full-on coding that you need. But this is the kind of stuff that really, really will make a difference to how people respond to your book. Okay, so I'm hoping that this is all kind of making sense. And if it is, fantastic. And if it's not, well, I don't know what to say. I'm a bit sorry. But I hope it is. Oh, that little thing's disconnected. So tell me, does the thought of writing and publishing a book scare you? Does it still scare you? Have I allayed any of your fears? Have I sort of got you thinking, maybe I could take that first step. Now, the thing I didn't talk too much was the time that it takes to write a book. But I want to share something with you here, which is that, as I said, it took me 100 days to write, edit, create covers, and publish both of my books. So they each took 100 days, actually a little bit under 100 days. I think it was like 99 days. And I worked full-time at the time and had family commitments, not little kids, but still definitely had other commitments. So I found that 1 hour a day carved out of my busy day was all I needed. So if you think that you can find 1 hour a day, then this is something that is actually going to be possible. And of course, if it's important enough for you, then you will find that 1 hour a day. And I guess if it's not, then you don't. But all I'm saying is that it doesn't have to be something that's going to take years. In fact, I highly, highly recommend against that, because if it does take too long, you lose your mojo, you lose your passion, your motivation. It's hard to sustain that for much longer than 3 months. 3 months you can keep really, sorry, I've got a cat that's just jumping all over me. you can keep that motivation going for 3 months. But I find that after that, it starts to wane. So it's, if you can do it in that short, sharp time, and as I've said, an hour a day is all it takes. Most people can find that, even if it means getting up an hour earlier or staying up an hour later. Most people can manage it. And definitely when I go into, in the author code, there's entire modules on how to, carve that hour out and make it sacred. But for right now, if you've been wanting to write a book for a long time, but something's always been holding you back, then I have got something great to share with you. We've come to the end of the story of the WWW of becoming a successful author, but there is a little postscript, a little happily ever after to this story. So remember, I've been mentioning about this system that I've been working on. It's a system that I have been I've devised to help deal with, yes, all of these things. To deal with finding the time, to deal with knowing if the idea that you have is the right one, because I think for a lot of authors, they think, should I do this or should I do that? Or I could do this, and by the time they've sort of gone through a brainstorming session, they've got 15 books that they could write about. So I've got a system that helps you specify whether the idea is the right one, whether it's one that's going to sell, if that is the, if that is one of the objectives that you have. A system that's going to help deal with procrastination and the mind games. As I've already touched on today, the mind games and the mind gremlins are one of the biggest problems that authors face. The lack of belief in themselves and the lack of belief in their ability all come up. And I tell you what, writing a book would have to be one of the biggest things to test that, to test our own inner confidence. A lot of stuff comes up. It's kind of like, it's kind of like poking the bear a little bit. So I've got some systems that are specific to dealing with that. And of course, big section of a big section is the solution to marketing, being able to market and sell your book, to create a book that's going to sell, make money. Get into the hands of people. There's no point making a book that's fantastic if nobody reads it. And that solution is called the Author Code. This is the one-stop solution to all of your roadblocks around becoming an author. And it is the fastest way to help you get that book out of your head and into the world. It's going to help you with some of the biggest things that have been holding you back. So this is the bundle, and right there you can see the place to go and check it out. So you just go to theauthorcode.com and you will find the bundle. But let me go through what is included in the bundle, because it's got some really juicy things. We've got over 15 hours of video training, taking you through the basics of inbuilt organic marketing, the psychology of managing yourself, managing a launch team, and the psychology of browser to buyer techniques. It has got you can also choose how you consume it. So you can watch the training videos, but a lot of them you can just listen to while you're doing other stuff, because I think a lot of this information will just start trickling in, and you can put it into action straight away. There are worksheets and timeline tools. In fact, the timeline tools are some of the most popular things. I have had people offer to buy the entire course just so they could get the launch timeline tool. But I've got a timeline tool for both launching your book and working with a launch team. So there's two very specific systems that both have specific timelines, and you work back from the day that you're going to publish, and then you sort of go back to how you're going to implement all the stages, which includes advertising with promotions, when you actually send your book to the editor, when you send your book to the formatter, when you get your cover designed, so you can work back from there and keep it in that tight 3-month period, if possible. But anyway, the timeline tools will really, really, really help you do that. And there are action steps for every single step of the way, specific exercise drills that are going to make it easy for you to get results. So let's have a look. These are some of the things. Now, I love mind maps. I mean, if anyone here who actually has seen any of my trainings before, you know that usually, this is unusual because I didn't use a mind map in this training, but usually I do. And so a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them have, you can see all the mind maps, and these are some of the topics. So shopping list with a twist, the good, the bad, and the busy, the mindset massacre, the decision matrix, and lock, stock, and writer's block are all trainings that are going to help deal with problems that going to help you find and validate your book idea. So if you've got too many ideas or no idea, that's where you get into the decision matrix. So I've designed this so it's not something that you need to sort of go, it's not modular. It's not like start with 1, 2, 3. You can pick and choose. You can go, I need to listen to the decision matrix today because I'm trying to refine my idea, and then you might listen to the lock, stock, and writer's block on a different day because you're feeling that you've got some writer's blocks and mind gremlins coming in. So it's a choose your own adventure system. The shopping list with a twist will allow you to drill down and discover which is the best book format. And by format, I mean whether you're going to be sort of writing a memoir or a journal or a how-to, etc. So that's where you would listen to that lesson. The conquering your inner demons, definitely huge for so many authors. So Mindset Massacre and Lock, Stock, and Writer's Block are both really good sessions that are going to help you move past that self-doubt. So there's actual techniques that you can do that will just cut through. In fact, I've used these in my practice as a healer for decades. For decades, but they will also cut through decades of negative self-talk, because I think a lot of the time that is the number one thing that holds people back. Then we have the browser to buyer strategy. Now, this is all about using psychology, and I've given you a really good taste of that today, but that is where you're going to find out just how easy it can to become a marketing expert, to get inside the head of your buyer and make sure that the book you're producing is something that they want. Make sure that they click the buy now button in that split-second decision that they have to make. Then we have the launch team. This is a whole series of lessons which will talk to you about how to set yourself up so that you create a book that's going to be a bestseller. Now, there's a way that you can kind of, you can jig the Amazon algorithm very easily, and it's just such a shot in the arm for you, for your book, and for the future of your book to get it up there as a bestseller, especially in the beginning. So there's some really, really easy steps that you can take, but you need to know how to look after a launch team. And it's not like a massive team of people, and it's not a huge thing at all. I show you just how easy this is. Then there is, for the people who have no time, as I've already referred to, there's some great techniques and strategies that have allowed me to write my books while working full-time, and also many of the authors that I coach, we've used these techniques with them. And now this is the fast action bonus. So you have got 4 hours to take action on this. This is the mind mapping, Master the Art of Mind Mapping. So this is a webinar that I did recently, and I'm giving that away as part of the bundle, but only if you purchase in the next 4 hours. So you basically have whatever time it is in your neck of the woods. You have 4 hours to take action on that. And the mind mapping, what that's all about is it's really just a way of using the tool of mind mapping to help validate your book idea and also create outlines for your book and just speed up the whole process. I have found by using this particular technique, I have taken probably weeks off the process of writing a book by really knowing how to use a mind map in the most effective way. So this is a great session. Now this is also available for people who choose the silver or VIP level, and this is building your business beyond the book. This is a masterclass. It gives you the insider knowledge on how to turn your book into a client magnet. So Amazon is a massive place people land on Amazon with the purpose of buying. that's why they go there, because, you know, they have credit card in hand, right? They're ready to buy. So utilizing that as a place to find your next client, whatever your business might be, you'd be crazy not to do it. But so many authors miss this opportunity. So this masterclass is all about how to create, you know, how to find people from Amazon who are going to become your next clients, and some really, really good techniques for doing that in here. So these is, you've already seen that. Okay, so this is the way you can buy it. So first of all, you're going to go to theauthorcode.com. That is where you buy it. And you'll see there is a lovely sales page there. And when you scroll down to the bottom, there are 3 different methods of payment available for you. So you can either you can either get the standard, and that's only going to cost you $69 today. So, you know, just for an upfront payment of $69, you can get all that I have mentioned in that bundle, except for the Beyond Your Book masterclass. That's the only thing that's not included in the standard. In the silver, you're actually paying the full amount up front, which is $345. That is a savings of doing it that way, savings of $64. And when you pay like that, you get everything included. And for those who want to take it the next step and go a little bit deeper into this, then what I am offering is a special coaching bonus, which is where you get to have 6 sessions, one-on-one sessions with me. The first one would be a strategy session where we basically look at your entire book, look at the angle you're taking, and strategize the best way to approach it. And the next 5 sessions are basically going to be about anything that you want them to be. So, you know, you pick your topic, whatever area you're having trouble with. And if you don't even know what to do, well, believe me, depending on where you are in your writing journey, I will be able to direct you and make sure that you're maximizing all the opportunities that you know, that are there for you. So you can get that for two different ways. You can either pay the full amount of $18.85 today, and there is a savings if you do it that way. I think it's a $209 savings, or you can pay 6 payments of $349, which means that that's just $349 upfront today. So that is what is available. So this is what you get with a standard. You get all of these. Topics. The only thing that you don't get is the business beyond the book. And if you pay with silver, you get everything. Obviously, not the coaching sessions. And if you get the VIP, you're going to get all of the coaching sessions as well. So these are the 3 different things. Now, I am happy to answer any questions that people might have. So I have someone who's asking about whether this is for fiction or nonfiction. So as I've kind of mentioned already, yes, it is mainly for fiction, for nonfiction. It is definitely aimed for nonfiction. So especially when it comes to a lot of the marketing stuff, that is very much for the nonfiction market. However, that doesn't mean that I would say 80% of the topics there could apply to either genre, but I definitely have aimed this at the nonfiction writer. Okay, so how long does it take to complete the whole thing? Well, okay, look, as I've said, there's about 15 hours. It's around about that much time of training. Some of the sessions that you listen to are about an hour long, although, as I've already said, my secret is listen to it on sped up time. I think my voice sounds better. I sound a bit like a chipmunk. But anyway, you can definitely do that. So it's around about that length of time. But now, here's the other thing. It's a pick and choose. It's a choose your own adventure. It's not a step 1, step 2, step 3. This is where you will actually be deciding on what you need at the time. Like if you're ready to launch your book, you're going to go straight to Launch Team Tactics, and that's the one you'll be listening to. And you mightn't worry about listening to Lock, Stock and Writer's Block, until you're starting your next book, and that's when you really need that. Or, you might be ready to hear all about how to build your business beyond the book. So you want to know how to build opt-ins into your book and make them accessible to everyone on Amazon. But be listening to that masterclass. So you're kind of going to pick and choose. So as far as how long it takes, it's one of those things that it's a resource that having it there, sitting on your computer, ready to consume when and as you need it, is always going to be useful. So I think as any of us here who have already published books will know, if you've done one book, you're going to want to do another. It doesn't stop with one. There's always going to be the next book. So when you come to the next book, that's when you're going to start listening to the, let's say, the decision matrix, or you're going to do the mind mapping bonus, because, that's when you'll start to validate your idea and understand if what you're going to be, the topic you're choosing is going to be the right topic. So it's going to be at different stages of your writing, different aspects will be useful. Okay, so I want to tell you a little bit about some of the lovely people who have previously taken some of my trainings, and this is the beautiful Taya. She took my course about a year ago now, and she found it incredibly useful. As she says, she's constantly referring back to the lessons, and she really puts down her success of her book, When Life Sucks, and she's a counselor, and she puts the success of that book on the launch and success of the launch down to using my techniques. So it was wonderful to get to know Taya and talk with her a little bit through that process too. Cassandra, another psychologist, a similar kind of field. So she really felt that it took the stress out of her launch and made it fun. She found the lessons that were easy to apply and brilliant, she said. I didn't say this, she said it. So she really found it, easy and fun. Hey, you gotta love that. So Agi, I've loved working with Agi, and she's written some fantastic books. She's in the midst of her next book, all about the gym. She's really enjoyed the coaching aspect of what I have offered her. So as she said, I'm talking about myself in the third person. It's very weird. She has an easygoing personality and relatable style. Look, I'm hoping that you kind of gather that from listening to me on the webinar. But she's found that the motivate and support and inspiration I gave her in the sessions has really helped. And I'm good. This is just weird. I probably shouldn't read these out. I just leave them for you to read. But I'm just imagining some people might be listening to this audio. That's how I consume a lot of webinars. So I'm reading it out for you people. I couldn't do it without her, okay? That's what she said. Couldn't do it without her. Thanks, Agi. She's a darling. Barry, I love Barry. He's an awesome guy, and he's someone who's really into. He's a salesman. So what he has said is we're tips and tools to save you time. When you write your book, there's so much information out there. Some of it's good, some of it's useless. And what Kylie has done is put together a very practical way to get you started and take away the headaches that can happen with the book writing journey. Okay. Oh, I've got Cassandra in there twice. That was a mistake. She's such a sweetie. Okay, so it's really simple to do. You go to the author code. When you go there, you'll see there is a beautiful long sales page. I had so much fun creating this. If you want to read that whole sales page, you can, because why not? I mean, I'm sure you've got nothing better to do. But the thing is that down the bottom of the page, you've got to scroll down for a while, you will find the place where you can click the buy now buttons. And it's just going to take you to a place where you have to fill in some details about, your name and address and the date of your firstborn's. No. Just your name and address and a few other things. That's going to create your account. Then you pay with PayPal. So it's just a little button. It'll take you to PayPal. So it's very, very simple. It just gets taken out of your PayPal account. You don't even have to go through, like a credit card or anything like that. So it's just through PayPal, and then you get immediate access to everything that we have spoken about. Immediate and lifetime access. This is yours forevermore. Well, as long as there is an internet, because that's where it's living, on the internet. So is there any other questions? Let me just go back and, that has disconnected. Let me go back in there. So if there's any other questions, let me know. So yeah, 4 hours, 4 hours you have. So go and click on that sales page and you will see there's actually a time there. It's going to count down for you. So it's very kind like that. Now, the other thing is that the cart is only going to be open for a week. So you have 4 hours to get all of the bonuses, to get the mindset, the mind mapping bonus. But you do have a full week to make the decision. The cart will be closing this time next week. But so in that period of time, I'm going to be doing a couple of webinars and a couple of Facebook Lives, and I don't know, just trying to get my face out there, I suppose. So please email me if you have any questions. I am not seeing any other questions, so that's cool. I'm going to assume that all is good, and it's time for you to make your decision of, is it time to get that book out into the world? Is it time to actually, make the choice, instead of just dreaming about becoming an author, actually doing something about it and investing in yourself and making this be the year that you finally do publish that book. Don't just let it be another year and another year when you keep dreaming about it but don't do anything about it. When you invest in this course, it is going to give you the impetus, the motivation, and help you overcome all of those demons and mind gremlins that have been holding you back from actually living that dream, making that dream of becoming an author a reality. So I will be really excited to welcome you inside the Author Code and have you become part of the group of people who can call themselves authors. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Look at the time, very good timing. It's been an absolute pleasure to spend a bit of time with you, and thank you so much if you're listening all the way to the end. Oh my gosh, it's been a joy, and I am ready to go out there and enjoy the sunshine, and maybe I'll stop sharing and you can see my face again. Is that an idea? I don't know. I can say goodbye. I can say goodbye properly. Thank you so much for being with me. And if there are any other questions about this, about the Author Code, then please feel free to email me and ask them there. Otherwise, then all I can say is I just think this will be the time that you do get that book out of your head and make a difference, make an impact with your book in the world. There's nothing quite like the feeling of being a published author, and I would love you to join me in that rank of being a published author. Thank you so much for your time today, and I will see you inside the Author Code later. Bye.